All right, welcome to the Young Turks. I'm your host, Cenk. Fun show ahead for you guys. All right, first of all, I said that we would talk about the MSNBC situation today. I hate to do it to you. Okay, just give me one more day, and you'll see why. There's a very good reason why I love you 10-2 tomorrow, okay? It's my bad, my mistake. I regret it, okay? So now let's get on to the show. All right, number one, Murdoch testified today with his son. There was the pie moment. Of course, everybody's talking about that. I have a significant thought on that. But much more significant, I'm going to bring up something that I don't believe anybody else is talking about that I think is enormously relevant. Oh, there I said it. I'm bringing it up. Okay, that's coming up in just a second. Furthermore, of course, debt ceiling stuff. But Bill Clinton had a great point about it. But put all that aside. In the second segment, when we're discussing that, I have the story of the day. I have some quotes from the Obama administration. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But it's so telling. It's so telling. Okay, anyway, we'll get to that in a second. And then we've got a bloop, bloop, bloop on Michelle Bachmann. It's a story that I didn't think was a big deal. Here, I'll tell you what it is. It's the migraine headache story. You know she's got migraine headaches, apparently. But then JR pointed out a couple of things to me, and I start to think, wait a minute now, a little bloop, bloop, bloop on this one. So we're going to discuss that later in the program. Okay, so let's get started. Rupert Murdoch and James Murdoch, his son, were testifying in front of Parliament, and they were being asked about, hey, what did you know about the News of the World hacking affair? Of course, they said, oh, they were hacking? They were hacking? I didn't know anything about the hacking. Jeez, and Lord mercy, I wish somebody had told me. Now, I actually have mixed feelings about their testimony on that. Here's why. Is the president of the company, the guy at the very top, going to know what an editor is doing there and here? I would guess not. So I'm actually a tiny bit on Murdoch's side there. And, look, you know why? Because I'm the most reasonable man in America. And I look at the facts and I say, does the CEO really know all that stuff that's going on down there? Now, Murdoch has a slight issue here because he's obsessed with the papers. And by his own account, he lays out all of his papers and the competitors' papers and reads them every morning. Now, did he not ask the question, how are we getting all these scoops? Seems kind of amazing. But, I think that's too hard to put it all the way on Murdoch, right? If you ask me, okay? But the editor is totally full of crap. And the question is, where does this stop between the editors and the owners, right? Because if my reporter comes to me and says, Cenk, oh yeah, I just happen to find out exactly what the Royals are saying. I'd be like, okay, how'd you find out? I mean, that's the job of the editor, right? To ask the reporter, where did you get the information? That's part and parcel of their job. If the reporter's like, oh, well, I just got it. Probably scary. Well, I hacked the phone. Okay, I'm like, whoa, wait, let's go back to the part where you hacked the phone. Okay, so did the editors know? Of course they knew. So like for the Murdochs to be like, geez and Lord mercy, it turns out the editors knew? Oh, my trust has been betrayed. And that's what Murdoch was saying today, that he felt all hurt about this and the people he had trusted and the people that they had trusted, and that was the problem, okay? So as I said, I'm slightly sympathetic to his point. James Murdoch being a little bit more closely involved with the papers, he was running the British papers. Ooh, that's a little dicier, but I don't know. We'd have to get into the details to find out. Now, what everybody's talking about in regards to the Murdoch testimony in Parliament is, of course, the kind of pie throwing. It's not really a pie. It turns out it's shaving cream of some sort. He was attacked, and we have a video for you, so let's watch it.
Included a confidentiality clause, and maybe the other supplement did not.
Watch out. Awesome. Okay. All right, sir.
The sitting is suspended for 10 minutes.
That is a curious thing. Watch his wife. His wife is in the pink, Wendy Dang, and she ain't having it, okay? Now, I said awesome in the middle of that. I don't mean the pie throwing. I hate the pie throwing. Shaving cream. So this apparently was some sort of comedian named Johnny Marbles. He's trying to get attention, and he tweeted out earlier, this is the best thing I've ever done, yada, yada. No, it's not. It's stupid. And by the way, if you're against Murdoch, you're only helping him here, because what does it do? It creates sympathy for Murdoch. Everybody who looks at him goes, oh my God, is he okay? right? And oh, I can't believe they did this to him. It's such a dumb idea. And besides, that's not how we should be conducting ourselves in a democracy. I've said it a million times. Don't throw pies, don't throw shoes. It's dumb, it's an assault. No way, not having it. But that's not, to me, that wasn't the interesting part. The interesting part was his wife's reaction. Boom, she jumped out of there. Did you see that? And she got boom, boom, boom. She gave him a couple of bitch slaps. And I need you to understand, in this context, he's the bitch getting slapped. Just so you know, just so we're fair, okay? And nobody gets confused. She came in, I thought she went Turkish style there for a second, like, okay? That was quick. Let's watch that again. And you know, by the way, the Murdochs were a little pissed because they're like, hey, the son was like, why didn't the cops see this? Boom! She was quick, man, lightning quick. I like that. This is the worst hold screen ever. Okay, anyway, here it comes again. Watch. And she slapped him a couple of times. Not just once. She's like, oh, you're gonna come after my man. Well, that's what you're gonna do, Johnny Marbles. You're gonna come after my man. Well, there's a price to pay. Okay, I like it, man. Wendy Dang, going to work. Wendy is, hey, let's put it this way, okay? I'm looking at a couple different situations here, and I think she's got your back, literally in this case, right, if you're Murdoch. And she's a fairly attractive young lady, you know what I'm saying? I didn't say anything. I haven't said a word, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Okay, and so nicely done. Can I say something I'm not supposed to say now? And of course, everybody's looking forward to that. Murdoch's ex-wife, who he has the kids with, James Murdoch, etc., how much does she hate Wendy Day? You see what I'm saying? Younger woman, sexy Asian woman, comes in, done snatch up your husband. Like, I don't know the situation. I don't know. Maybe, you know, maybe the wife left him. I don't know. Right? He has worth a couple of $1 billion. Not sure about that. But hey, look, you know, personal relationships, you don't know. You don't know. I'm just saying that if it was a movie or if it was a TV show on Lifetime, she'd be the bad guy, right? But today she was the good guy. I like it when she has her husband back, even though I can't stand her husband.
Maybe there was, you know, a look from Wendy to the now ex-wife that was like, listen, this is what's going down.
Listen, you come in with the shaving cream business, it's not going to work out for you, okay? Wendy's on the watch. All right, so good work by Wendy, terrible work by Johnny Marbles. Some people are amused by it. I don't know, maybe I'm being a downer, but I'm not at all amused. I hate that stuff, the pie throwing. Okay, you guys all know my feelings about that. So now, okay, I'm saving the best for last. I'm going to get to my little thing that nobody else is discussing, but it's a very important news story related to all this, if you ask me. But first, here comes Fox News to the defense again. Oh, no, my bad. I said Fox News because we did some Fox News clips. It's actually CNN coming to the defense. So Piers Morgan worked for Rupert Murdoch. In fact, got a huge break from him when he was 28 years old, became an editor of one of the papers, right? So, you know, he feels like he owes Murdoch, and I don't know their personal relationship, but obviously he's got a bit of a crush on him. So he's going to go on and defend Murdoch and say what a brilliant man he is, and he's going to bring on Vicky Ward, who's a contributor to Vanity Fair and also a friend of the Murdochs and also someone who worked for Rupert Murdoch, and they're going to have a love fest about what a lovely human being Rupert Murdoch is. Let's start watching.
Well, you know, Piers, I just got a call an hour ago, and Rupert wanted to tell me personally that, you know, he's not okay. Ever since he met with Millie Dowler, the murdered girl's parents, he hasn't felt the same. His voice has been cracking. The people around him are very concerned. His children are very concerned. This is a man who is more devastated than he has ever been in his entire 80 years.
Yeah, nonsense, okay? Oh, you should have such great sympathy for him. He's the victim here. You know, everybody go ahead and cry for Rupert Murdoch. Okay, sorry for making fun of the accent. Okay, but look, my whole family has accents. Okay, but nonetheless, I can't stand her. You're going to see more clips from her in a second. But this is a person who, you know, made a lot of money off of Rupert Murdoch coming in to me with this nonsense story about, oh my God, he's not okay. Everybody's very concerned about him. God, all the sympathy should be directed to my former boss who paid me a lot of money and is still good friends with me. So let's let her continue along those lines.
This is a man who cares so much about his legacy. He once said to me, all I want is for my kids to be decent people. And what I enjoy more than anything else in the morning is getting up and looking at all my newspapers and then looking at the competition and seeing who's done better. And, you know, it was like he would get, you know, and I love the sort of image of him in his pajamas scrolling around.
I mean, what I would say...
Come on, pajamas. Now we're in the pajamas, okay? And all Rupert Murdoch ever wanted is for his kids to be decent people. Are we talking about the same Rupert Murdoch? On which planet is Rupert Murdoch? Oh my God, he's in his pajamas and everybody's concerned and he loves the kids, he loves the children. Come on, man, this guy's a ruthless businessman, titan, and political figure who has been driving both Britain and Australia, and most importantly for our purposes, and for the whole world's purposes, the United States of America to build more and more right-wing draconian positions, driving us into wars where hundreds of thousands of people get killed like Iraq, and his only concern is the decency of his kids. Can she believe that? Does she really believe that? Or does she walk out afterwards with Piers Morgan? We got a bit of a laugh, didn't we? Oh, Murdoch in the pajamas, that was pretty good. That's more of a British accent, but nonetheless, we continue.
So I cannot accept, although there's this huge witch hunt going on to bring him down personally, I don't accept that he himself would be party to illegal activity.
Well, I have to say, having been the features editor and the news features editor of the New York Post myself, and also having worked for him at the London Times back in England, and at the now defunct Today newspaper, I completely agree with you, Piers. He became a friend to me when I was at the New York Post. He would often stop by my office and talk to me.
I bet he would. I don't know why he stopped by her office and became a friend to her, but, you know, he's a man with a giant heart in pajamas, okay? And he would come by her office, you know, she's a fairly decent-looking person, and he'd talk about how much he loved the kids. And I love the little list that she gave. And now I work for him here, and now I work for him there, and you know, I made quite a bit of money from him. But nonetheless, he would come by the office and fawn over me or, you know, show me interest, and, you know, I really like him. Really, this is the same Murdoch. Okay, we continue.
People always assumed, if you've edited a paper for Murdoch, that he constantly interfered before stories were published and so on. That just did not happen. I mean, I wrote a book of diaries detailing my time there, and he just didn't do that. That wasn't his thing. What he would do is discuss them after you've published them.
Now, look, Piers Morgan is defending him. The guy did him a favor. Look, for some reason in these clips, Piers didn't bother me nearly as much as the lady did. And and I trust him if he says, look, he didn't interfere ahead of time, but he would look at the stories later and make comments on them. Look, he's the owner of the paper. If I was the owner of the paper, I might make comments too. At the same time, is that also a nudge in a certain direction? Hey, if you're a 28-year-old editor and the owner of the paper says, I would have written it this way, probably next time you're writing it that way. But nonetheless, that's his, you know, his discretion as the owner of the paper. I think it's fine. So I'm not as bothered by that. There was something else that I wanted to say about that. Can we run that clip one more time?
People always assumed, if you've edited a paper for Murdoch, that he constantly interfered before stories were published and so on. That just did not happen. I mean, I wrote a book of diaries detailing my time there.
It was nonsense. I was just going to make fun of the diaries. A book of diaries. Dear diary, today Murdoch came in and stared at me at the office for quite a long time. I don't know what that was about. He was in his pajamas. Okay, all right. Anyway, nonsense. All right, so now we go to Michael Wolff. He's written a book about Murdoch. I don't know how Murdoch made the mistake of letting this guy write a book about him, because this guy's been like shivving Murdoch ever since. He's like, oh, Rupert's in some trouble, huh? Okay, so here he goes.
But then he talks to the Wall Street Journal, and here he is defending James. I think he acted as fast as he could, the moment he could. It doesn't seem like he's doing the full contrition route yet.
One of the curious things about Rupert Murdoch is that when he gives an interview, he only gives it to news outlets he owns. And those are always very funny interviews because he is essentially telling his reporters what questions to ask and how to cast his response.
Okay, so that's very interesting, right? But it's totally relevant to the story. And we didn't play you that clip just to show you that. We played you that clip so we can show you Howard Kurtz's reaction, which is funny. Now, of course, Kurtz is hosting the show for CNN here, and he jumps to Murdoch's defense, and Michael Wolff has an excellent explanation. Let's watch.
Wait, how do you know he's telling his reporters what questions to ask? That's not entirely fair. The Wall Street Journal is a pretty good newspaper.
Because I've sat with him when he's done this. I know who calls before. It is absolutely the Murdoch playbook. You call ahead, you set it up, you tell them what questions to ask. In the middle of the interview, he often does this.
Okay, he's like, well, that's not really fair, except for the fact that let me tell you exactly how it goes down, and I saw it for myself. Oops. But you know, it's interesting, right? How many times have we seen this now over the last couple of days? I feel like we've shown 18 clips where, and you know, I was, when I was on vacation, I saw ABC's This Week, where when they were talking about the London side and the British side, they were like, oh yeah, some problems. When they came over to talk about Fox News, all of a sudden, even the neutral reporters were like, no, defend the House, defend Fox News. No, it's totally unfair to talk about Fox News, right? And Howard Kurtz comes in here for Wall Street Journal, totally unfair. Except the guy saw it with his own eyes. He wrote a book about it. So, totally fair. Now, Wall Street Journal is afraid that the stench of all this is rubbing off on them, and some of the reporters are leaking to the press that, hey, we have not been Foxified, and don't compare us to Fox News. Except Wall Street Journal are the guys that are running the op-eds saying what a lovely human being Murdoch is, and this is all incredibly unfair to him, and that it's the liberal media's fault. I mean, you might as well be the New York Post, right? Now, that's the editorial side. There's a difference between the editorial and the reporting side, and it takes a while for Murdoch to corrupt an organization. And there's no question that the Wall Street Journal editorial side is hopeless, but honestly, they were incredibly conservative to begin with, even before Murdoch bought them. But I have seen it creeping into the reporting a little bit. Now, I'm saying that without giving you the evidence for it, so it's a little unfair, but, and next time I see it, I promise I'll bring it up to you. But that's my sense of it. But of course, they hate that, and they don't want that to be out there. But, you know, the family that sold the Wall Street Journal to the Murdochs, the Bancroft family, are now saying that they regret it. And they think that he has taken the Wall Street Journal in a conservative, opinionated direction that's more propaganda and less reporting. So, and the Murdochs were very angry to hear that, et cetera. Okay, so one last video for you guys, and that is Murdoch actually at the hearings. Just wanted to give you a sense of it. Let's go to clip 10.
Mr. Murdoch, do you accept that ultimately you are responsible for this whole fiasco?
No.
You're not responsible. Who is responsible?
The people that I trusted to run it, and then maybe the people they trusted.
Can you name?
I worked with Mr. Hinton for 52 years, and I would trust him with my life.
Well, apparently that was a mistake, because now you're in front of Parliament. Now, look, I don't know if Hinton had anything to do with it. He has resigned. He's the guy that was now the head of Dow Jones, which owns Wall Street Journal. That's the subsidiary now owned by News Corp, yada, yada. And Hinton and him had worked 52 years. But he ran the British papers when all this scandal happened, right? And so, you know, the overall summary here is Murdoch saying, wasn't me. I trusted people and they trusted people, and it's all the way down there, okay? I fired everybody anyway. Yes.
I don't know. Like you said it from the top, you know, he may not be right there, you know, wagging his finger at every paper and every story that's written, because that's impossible, right? For how big of a media giant he is. But, you know, I don't know. We'll try this analogy. You catch a drug kingpin. He's not out on the streets. He's not selling drugs right there. He's not really in the violence that can occur through it. But he's the head of this organization. That's their job, and he knows that that's their job. So you catch the kingpin running the organization. Well, he doesn't know how his organization is run. He doesn't know what they do. He knows what's going on. It's not like he doesn't know what's going on in his old organization. And they go after the guy the hardest. They're like, you run this whole thing. You organize. You put it together. Yeah, you have guys below you that carry out each step, but you know how it works.
No, Jay, I'm really torn on it, man, because look, the flip side to what I said earlier, which is that, hey, does the guy up top know every single thing that's going on and they're hacking the phones, et cetera? The flip side to that is organizations set the tone from the top, right? So if you set the tone that, hey, you cut corners, it'll be all right, people will cut corners, right? If you set the tone that, hey, you know, you wanna break the law every once in a while, you gotta do what you gotta do, believe me, all of a sudden, you've got over 100 hacking cases. Like, see, that's where JR is a little bit more convincing, because if it was like 2 or 3, you say, oh, come on, how the hell is the boss supposed to know about 2 or 3? And then they fix it, et cetera. By the way, they've been doing internal inquiries on this for years. You're gonna be shocked to find out that internal inquiries have reached no conclusion, right? Like, why didn't you get on top of this story 5 years ago when it first broke? Not the Millie part where the girl, you know, is killed, et cetera, but the hacking story is actually 5 years old, and so you do set a tone. But again, so I got mixed feelings on it. Steve, the audio guy.
Yeah. What they should have asked is, Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red? Did you order the code red? He may not have ordered it, but he certainly knows that someone ordered the code red, and he was okay with it.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking. You know, as I was looking at the hearings, I was thinking, you gotta ask the question of, who do you think was responsible, right? Because if I'm the head of the organization and something goes wrong, I'm gonna figure out, and I'm actually outraged by it, I'm gonna get down, you know, we're gonna figure it out. Remember when we had the scandal about the ripped TYT card in the bathroom? We got to the bottom of it. Okay, so now seriously though, like I'd be like, whoa, like if somebody broke the law on here, I'd be like, Jesus, Lord mercy, what are you doing? Who the hell did that? And we try to figure out what went wrong, right? So if an investigator's got me, you know, or the parliament is asking me questions, I think it's a really fair question to say, hey, Cenk, what did you do? And have you found out who it is? What did you do down the chain of command, et cetera, et cetera? And because if you say you're really apologetic and outraged, et cetera, you know, you'd have to show that in some way. I'm not sure we got to that today. Can I just also say, it's really past, but that guy's Scottish accent was awesome. The guy asking the questions. I'm not even sure he's Scottish. I don't know him at all. But can we play that one more time real quick?
Mr. Murdoch, do you accept that ultimately you are responsible for this whole fiasco?
No.
You're not responsible.
Do you accept that if we fight today, that all the days from here to... Okay, all right. Oh my God, Ross! All right. Last point, which I think might be the most important point because everybody's missing it. So as the Murdochs are testifying in Parliament about, you know, this hacking scandal, and we're wondering if there is a U.S. component to it, and obviously the FBI is investigating whether some of these papers also hacked into the phones of 9/11 victims' families, which is outrageous, right? Murdoch says he doesn't know anything about that. He said, he didn't say it didn't happen. He said he doesn't know of any evidence, which already to me sounds questionable, right? So that's, you know, that's usually what people say when they've done it, and they're like, I don't know, do you have any evidence of it? I haven't seen any evidence of it, right? Do you see what I'm saying? But okay, fine, you know, that's something that's a little bit of a stretch in terms of, that doesn't necessarily mean he knows about it or anything like that, right? So, and then he says the FBI has no such evidence either. Well, then why are they investigating? That seems weird. And why does Murdoch know what the FBI has or doesn't have? Okay, but to me, that leads to the question of, wait a minute, are the U.S. branches of News Corp doing this? Now, some people, of course, have asked that question, but there's been really no evidence put forward that, for example, Fox News or New York Post or at this point the Wall Street Journal has done anything like that. And so everybody, all the journalists when discussing go, oh, wait a minute, no, not Fox News, not Wall Street Journal. No, the U.S. guys are totally fine. But, you know, there was a story broken by Gawker that we covered a little while back, not that long ago, about Roger Ailes and how he spies in on his employees at the newspaper that he owns. It's the Putnam County News and Recorder, and that's where he's got apparently a really nice house, and his wife runs the paper for him, and they brought in some conservatives to be editors, etc. And then Gawker pointed out an amazing story about how he has hired private investigators, Ailes has, to follow these guys and to spy in on them. And so the guy that they hired was Joe Lindsley. And it's a crazy story because there's allegations of inappropriate level of intimacy that his wife and Roger Ailes was having with this guy. So that's really weird. But that's not the pertinent part here. The pertinent part is they go to lunch, for example, one day, and then they get a call from Ailes, and Ailes knows where they went to eat, and Ailes knows what they did. And they're like, how the hell does he know that? We didn't have lunch at the cafeteria. We drove fairly far out to go to some other restaurant. How does he know these things he can't possibly know? And then on another day, even after he has already resigned, because he thinks these guys are a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and he's trying to get out of there, he spots a black Lincoln Navigator, and he actually sees who's inside and gets to him, and he says, wait a minute, I know you. You're the guy that is part of News Corp's security staffers, right? And the guy says, yeah, that's me. So he caught him red-handed. He sent News Corp guys to go spy in on this guy who'd already even resigned from his own personal paper. So now I tell you that story because you might say, hey, that paper is not part of News Corp, although Roger Ailes used News Corp staffers for this spying operation. But if Roger Ailes is doing spying operations in his own paper, is it a fair question to ask, hey, is this part of the culture of News Corp? And is Roger Ailes doing that within Fox News? That is a very, very fair question. I'll leave it at that. And I think people should definitely investigate it. And I don't know why that story that Gawker broke, which I think is a great story, is not being discussed within this context. I think people need to go back and look at that and go, hey, what was Ailes doing here? And is this something he's been doing for a long time? And is it related to Murdoch and News Corp? Yes.
Yes. Also, these multinational corporations, Cenk, they have what they call best practices. Mm-hmm. So what works really well in one jurisdiction, they import or export to other jurisdictions. It's a very common thing for these multinationals. So if things are working really well in Britain, in gathering stories and controlling the story and all of that, they could have sent that policy over here.
No, it's a really good question. So I hope we have some reporters here. Do we have any reporters? I know they got some reporters in Great Britain. Any reporters here in the United States? Anybody? Anybody? Hey, look, Gawker broke that story. At least Gawker should definitely follow up on it because they're doing good work on that. All right, I hope everybody follows up on it. We got to take a quick break here. When we come back, the debt ceiling, Elizabeth Warren, most importantly, a really telling story about the Obama administration. All right, back on Young Turks, a couple of clarifications. I realize that although it probably was a record for the worst party ever, this Halloween thing that we were talking about, I remembered I actually, not that night, but a later night, hooked up with one of the girls there. So it might have been a bad party, but at least I got something. Come on, it's something. Nah, don't even do it. Get back. Okay, number two. No,
I got something too. I got a fucking parking ticket that night.
Well, that's your problem.
It was the worst party ever.
Okay. All right. And by the way, on the shake story, let me be clear. As soon as I drank it, I literally thought, I wasn't playing, I literally thought in my mind, I went, end of this. Okay. Now, I actually read the YouTube comments a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Get a sense of what the audience is, what do they think, and I actually think a lot of this stuff is funny. Somebody threw JR under the bus on one of the stories. When he, or maybe, I don't know if that was Twitter or YouTube, when, what was it? He said, oh yeah, I've got a penis. It's not hard.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, that should go on the soundboard. It won't because JR's in charge of the soundboard.
Exactly.
Tad down. I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Okay. Now, on the Epic Toilet Man update story, okay, there was a couple of comments that I really enjoyed. And I was trying to put my finger on it yesterday. I'm like, that dude looks like someone, but I couldn't quite get it. And 44 YouTuber figured it out. He said, he looks like Steve Nash.
Oh,
LOL.
My God. Yes.
Right? Yes. Who said that?
The eyebrows are a little different. If he gained a little bit of weight, if he spent a little more time eating and a little less time getting pooped on, he'd definitely look more like Steve Nash.
Yeah, and actually Steve Nash looks much bigger in that picture than he is in real life. So they are, Steve Nash and Epic Toilet Man separated at birth. But unlike Epic Toilet Man, Steve Nash gets laid all the time. Might have something to do with the fact that he's an NBA star.
He's a baller shot caller.
Oh, please stop. Okay, and then I also like the comment from Chest Veeg. He says, "Oh no, Cenk is back. Can we get more banana?" Oh, look at that. People liking the banana show. Okay, all right. Look, I just being fair and honest, okay? Apparently, Chest Veeg is not into me, but God bless his heart. I like that he likes the banana hour. Okay, there it is. That's your YouTube moment of the day. Forward.
All right. Kenneth Robinson from Texas bought a $330,000 home for just $16.
Yeah, this guy's awesome. This is real.
This guy is extremely intelligent because it turns out that there's a Texas law that allows him to buy a home that is foreclosed on, and the mortgage company that
went
bankrupt. So he saw a great opportunity for him to snatch that home up. Now, the neighbors in the neighborhood are furious about it, and they're doing whatever they can to get him out. But I wanted to play a little video clip of Kenneth Robinson talking about him buying this home for $16. Let's watch.
Kenneth Robinson told us he's no squatter. He says he moved in on June 17th after months of research about a Texas law called adverse possession.
This is not a normal process, but it's not a process that's not known. It's just not known to everybody.
Robinson says this piece of paper gives him rights to the house. It's an online form he printed out and filed at the Denton County Courthouse for $16. It says the house was abandoned and he's claiming ownership.
I went through, looked at it and added some things here, you know what I mean, for my own protection.
You know what? I went to law school. In law school, they sit there and they make you read and understand all these stupid old laws that never apply. It's from like 1789 when the dude would find a house in the woods and he'd start living there because there was nobody around, and he'd live there for 3 years, and then the courts would say, well, because of adverse possession, you actually, since you possess the house and da-da-da. And Kenneth Robinson is the first person to use this in like 200 years. Okay, I'm exaggerating, obviously, right? But man, that is really clever.
You have to be extremely knowledgeable to know of something like this, right?
Yeah.
And
I don't even know how he knew about it.
I don't know either, but I think it's incredible. And look, right now he doesn't have ownership of the home. He has the right to the home. It's a little different.
Yeah, and of course people are going to argue whether he actually has the right. And he's got to sit there for 3 years.
He has to sit there for 3 years. The person who originally owned the home and who got foreclosed on has to negotiate. And the previous owner actually has to pay off all of the debt before he or she can take ownership of the home.
See, that's the second genius part of this, right? He's like, all right, you want to negotiate about whether you want me to move out of here, you got to pay your debt first. And he knows that they can't pay the debt, and there's no mortgage company to come in and snatch up the house, right? It's a genius move. Now, I'm amused by the neighbors who are like, oh, we cannot have this. This is a very nice neighborhood.
I can understand. Okay, first of all, the neighbors, just reading their quotes, you can see that they don't like the idea of some black guy living in their polished neighborhood.
You know, when I read this story, I didn't know the race of the guy, right? And I was curious to see the video. And I was like, oh, of course.
Because you read their quotes, and they're trying to claim that he broke into the house. Okay, that he did something unlawful. They're doing whatever they can to get him out. But it could be, A, that they, have an issue with a black man living in their, wealthy neighborhood. It's described as a wealthy neighborhood. Or they're just extremely bitter that they're paying $330,000 for their homes, and this guy snatched up a beautiful home for $16 because he's freaking intelligent.
Right, and it might not be a race issue. It might be like, oh, we don't want poor people in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it might be that they don't want squatters, yada, yada, yada. If I was the neighbors, I'd have two different reactions to Kenneth. One, I'd be like, dude, I got to go talk to that guy. Okay, that guy's obviously bright. It's kind of an interesting neighbor to have, right? My second reaction would be like, I got to watch out for that guy. That dude will snatch up your house. You'll go out to lunch, you come back, Kenneth Robinson's in the house going, well, actually, technically, I filed this thing for about 13 cents. and I now own your house. She's like, wait, hold up now, Kenneth. I thought we were friends. What happened? So, no, it's a great move by him. And look, he is taking advantage of a situation that is something that's bad that's happened to our economy, but he's making the best of it, right? It's like there's a lot of foreclosures, but that presents an opportunity, and nobody's getting hurt. Nobody was in the house anyway, except his crybaby neighbors. They're like, oh no, why did I pay $330? Because you're not as smart as Kenneth.
Sorry.
Sorry.
By the way, the house was listed for over a year. No one was willing to buy it. So.
Yeah. I kind of want to interview Kenneth. Be like, dude, how'd you come up with this? How'd you plan? Oh, by the way, one other thing. He definitely broke into the house. Okay, keep it real. He says, oh, I just found the key.
Yeah, he didn't find a key.
He didn't find no key, right? He might have like jiggered the door or something, you know.
That's still breaking in, though.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd have tried every door, every window, and oh, look at that, I'm in. What are you gonna do? Oh, yeah. But he didn't find no key. Okay, I don't know if I'm being unfair, but come on, keep it real. What am I?
Where would he find it? What? Where would he find a key?
No,
that
it's absurd. It's absurd.
Doesn't like fall from the sky.
absurd.
Like, oh, I have a key to an abandoned home. Perfect.
One requirement for adverse possession is that you have to use the facility in an open and notorious way, right?
Yeah.
So you have to demonstrate to everyone around you, hey, it's my house, right?
See,
and
that's
what
a
he
great
did.
point.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, hey, I'm like, dude, you got to spend 3 years there, right? Be cool. I'm like, I love your plan, but like you're going out to the press, you're going to get in trouble, right? But Steve's right. It's got to be open and notorious. And now he can go and be like, look, even the Young Turks covered it.
Right.
It's open and notorious, right? So, man, I'm beginning to love this guy. We got to bring this guy in, but he'll snatch up the studio.
He'll be the new host of the show.
Next thing you know, I'm like, wait, what happened? I thought I was hosting. He's like, yeah, be cool. Okay, I found a key. Okay, it's set. All right.
All right, Newsweek wrote this really fascinating article. It was written by Lisa Miller, and it says how to raise a global kid. And it turns out that there are people in the United States that were not only inspired by Tiger Mom, but they also see a great deal of value in traveling abroad with their child, even if the child is in grade school, and making their child learn in a different setting, in a completely different country. So this article specifically talks about one couple that traveled to Singapore, and they had their grade school child, little daughter, learn Mandarin, learn about Singapore, basically be a global kid. Right. And the thing about this article is it's right, it's correct. Okay, there's definitely value in traveling abroad, learning about other cultures, but it's so unrealistic. And the people that are, profiled in this article get under my skin. And the reason why they get under my skin is because they're right. Okay, don't get me wrong, they're right. But they have this like, we traveled to Singapore because there's definitely value in learning about other cultures, and it's a global economy, and blah, we get it. But here's the thing. Our economy sucks. People are living in poverty right now. We can't even afford health insurance. So who's thinking about traveling abroad so their kid can learn Mandarin?
All right, first part of the story that I love is your accent that you have attributed to them. It's a magazine article. There's no accents.
Just calm down.
So I'm too sad.
I just see them drinking their tea. No, they are. That was unfair. But still.
I do declare we've decided to go to Singapore so that our child can learn Mandarin. You want to come over for tea and crumpets? Okay, so.
Do you understand what I'm saying, though?
No. Just calm down. I'm actually, in reality, 100% on your side. And in fact, no, I'm way more than you, okay? I get it, global kid, it's important to know Chinese. Hell no. You're way overdoing it. Look, you encourage a kid to go study abroad, even in high school. You don't have to wait to college. Great, I love it. Now there are some new schools here in the US that do immersion studying where you actually learn in a second language and you get to choose really early on whether it's Spanish or Chinese, for example, in some of those schools, right?
They're really great schools. They only cost like $40,000 a year,
right.
But they're good schools.
Look, I get it. You got to be super rich to do this, and then this is all a way of angling for your kid to get into Harvard. I know, it's unbearable, right? But they love their kids. They want their kids to have the best opportunity, et cetera, right? And in Turkey, actually, all the great schools are immersion schools. So you go and you learn in English, or you learn in German, or in French, et cetera. Like my friend Bora, knows French perfectly because he took biology, science, math, everything in French. That's what happens in these schools. So you want to do that? I'm still on board. You're going to go and move the kid to Singapore, and she or he is going to live her whole, childhood in Singapore, so she can have a slight advantage in knowing Mandarin and being a global kid. That's crazy. No, I'm totally against it. Boom, there it is. Okay, not even buying it. Not even close to buying it.
You know what? I'm not even against that. Do whatever the hell you want. But what I don't like.
No, I'm
is
not banning it. I'm merciful.
I totally thought you were banning it.
Okay.
I thought you were going to write a proposal. No. But what I'm saying is, do whatever you want with your kid. But the way the article was written and the way the parents are talking about it is almost as if, us Americans, like, we don't think about those things. We want to be isolated from the rest of the planet. Like, we just want to be our own country and we're not interested in learning about other countries or being global, right? But yeah, people are interested in it. Traveling abroad, even for college students, is unbelievably expensive. That's why I didn't do it.
Right.
There's no way I would be in debt right now if I traveled abroad.
Oh, yeah. See, it's personal with her.
It is personal because it's not a realistic thing. Why don't we focus on improving the education system here in the United States? Why don't we offer more bilingual studies here? And you don't have to spend $40,000 a year in some fancy school.
I get it, Anna. You don't know Mandarin, okay, and you feel a little bitter about it.
So bitter.
And you didn't get to go to Paris. Sorry. Okay. No. All right. Anyway.
I did go to Paris, by the way, in the end after I graduated.
Yeah. What happened now? She went to Paris. Okay, by the way, these people, the people in that story are incredibly rich. You couldn't pay me enough to live in Singapore.
We left our apartment in the Upper West Side and we went to Singapore.
Yeah. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with Singapore. It's a lovely country.
I love Singapore too.
No way. Even Greece, I had a great time. I was like, okay, let's get back to the U.S. I got back to the U.S. and I was like, I love this country. Okay, so I'm the ugly American. It's not for me. Okay. So when I got out of law school, I actually got a friend it wasn't a formal offer, but it looked like McKinsey Consulting would have given me a terrific job in Turkey as a consultant, making I think $100,000, right, which was a tremendous amount today, let alone back when I got out of law school in '95, right? And I was like, I'd have to live in Turkey. Okay, now, and Turkey's great, yada yada, people love it. It's not for me, man. There's nothing wrong with those countries. I just love this country. Okay, I'm hokey. We move forward.
By the way, only 37% of Americans have passports.
That was one of the most interesting parts.
Yeah, that was the most interesting statistic I read in this article. Like, wow, 37%? That's so low.
I know. But like you said.
I know. It's not a realistic thing for people to do, especially right now.
What's a kid in Newark going to do? Like, oh yeah, I'd love to go to Amsterdam. Okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I'm just, all the parents who are obsessed about getting your kids into Harvard, and so you move them to Singapore, please, for the love of God, calm down, okay? I knew there was one other thing. Real quick, one of the parents moves to China, okay, different parent. They move, this is such a clown move, it's awesome. They accidentally move to the part of China that speaks Cantonese, not Mandarin. Okay, Mandarin is the main Chinese language, Cantonese is the secondary one. And they're like, what? She's not even learning Mandarin. She's learning Cantonese. And then she's like, and it turns out, and it's the Guangdong province. So she's like, I went there, and all of a sudden, nobody speaks English, and I didn't know how to communicate to anybody, and I lost my mind and came back home.
Right.
Okay, but now they're moving to another Chinese city to learn the Mandarin. By the way, man, that is an epic fail. When you move your whole family, but you didn't bother to check whether they spoke Cantonese or Mandarin in that area. Okay, that's awesome. All right, next.
I love this story. A Chihuahua chased off 2 armed robbers in a Los Angeles cigar store.
Cigar
store. We have video of this. Look, watch the video carefully because I think we need to have a discussion as to whether or not the Chihuahua really won in the end.
We need to have a discussion. Let's watch.
Give me your money, homie. Hurry up. Give me your money. Give me your money. Hurry up.
there's a couple of things I love about it. Watch this. It's like, whoa, shit, what happened? What's sick? And then the guy pushes him. You notice that? The guy pushes him. He's like, come on, bitch, go get the money, man. Don't get scared by the Chihuahua. Oh, that was awesome when they started jumping. Like, what's he doing? What's he doing? They got like a shotgun, and there's a tiny little ant of a Chihuahua.
Right.
And I love the Chihuahua chasing their ass out of there.
Out of there, yeah.
Yeah, the Chihuahua's like, you're not coming for me. I'm coming for you. Okay. Now, why is the guy with a tough guy with, hey, homie, give me your thing? And I like how he's snapping around. He's like, yeah, come on, give me the money. And he's like, come on, dude, come on, just get the money, man. Just get the money. Oh, it's great. I love that video.
This is why I love dogs. Okay? Because they defend their owners in most cases. Like that, I could totally see my dog having the exact same reaction. My dog doesn't like it when I meet someone new and they approach me to shake my hand. She freaks out.
Right.
Right? Because she thinks that someone's attempting to attack me. Like dogs are very protective of their owners, and I love that.
Okay,
Oh,
so.
little Fandushka.
Oh, please. This one's called Paco, this dog, okay? And Paco's a tough guy, man. He chased them all the way down. And then the owner was worried about him, but then Paco came back. He's like, what's up? What's up? So now, did he really chase them out? I'm going to vote yes. Because, so you know, they only stole $200, right? So, yes, they got some money, right? But at the same time, they didn't get a lot. They didn't stick around. I don't know how much they would have stuck around with or without Paco. What do you think?
I think they were definitely scared of the Chihuahua. I mean, look at the way they're like, you know, frantically running around, and they just look like they're discombobulated. They don't know what they're doing, right?
It's funnier every time.
But in the end, they got the money. They got what they wanted. They would have probably gotten more money if the Chihuahua wasn't there, but...
I mean, he really got on that dude's leg. My favorite is the shotgun guy who starts swinging it around wildly. He's like, oh, what's going on? All right, no, I love Paco. Paco's now instantly my favorite dog. By the way, don't get me wrong. I sympathize to some degree with the robbers because when I go for a jog, it's not the size of the dog, right? Like, but the ones that just like, they're like, wow, 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 stick to the line, right? And sometimes, like one time they got wrapped around on my leg and his rope cut the hell out of my leg. Totally cut me. I still have the scar and it was bleeding. And
wow!
Yeah. So it's like, it's not that I'm scared of the dog. It's that it's a pain in the ass. I'm worried I'm going to step on it. I'm worried it's going to go crazy and Paco me, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
JR, what would you do if someone's dog leash cut your leg while you're in the middle of mid-jog?
I don't know. It would probably seem like it wouldn't be on purpose. It'd seem like I'm hurting the dog because I'm would be quick to unwrap it, you know. And if he's still hanging from it, then you're unwrapping the dog. It's like a Chihuahua, you said, right? That was ran up on you.
It was a small dog.
Something small. Yeah, it would look bad, but it would seem like I'm looking for malicious harm, but it wouldn't be.
No.
I would just look to remedy the leg situation and get this over with.
I know, but you know what? I sense a little maliciousness in that answer.
Totally. You wouldn't freak out if you had this huge cut on your leg from the... I think I would be pretty pissed.
I'm imagining JR maliciously unwinding the leash.
What? The dog's like flying around.
All right. Anyway, Paco for the win.
Yes.
Okay. I want to get to some of the other stories, so let's move forward.
Summer's Eve just came out with a new ad campaign, and some people are saying that it's racist. I want to show you the videos. They made 3 different videos. Now, if you guys don't know, Summer's Eve is a feminine hygiene product. Okay, helps you remain fresh down there, apparently.
I'm always enjoying the euphemisms. Like I always thought, like even when I was a kid, like should they be advertising that? Because that seems a little shady. You know?
Really? Why?
I mean, because you know, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, like body parts, like. Like,
did you feel the same way about tampon commercials?
Yeah, I'm like, that goes in the vagine, doesn't it?
All right, so, you know, Summer's Eve decided they're going to come out with this campaign, and they target each video for each different race.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Okay, so let's start with the first video. This one is targeted toward black people.
Oh, boy.
Girl, I've seen how much time you spend styling your hair. And trust me, your hair can't possibly do what your Wonder Down Under can do. So, why are you blowing me off? Soap? Please. You know how much that dries me out and irritates my bikini line?
Oh, God.
You really want to be itchy down here? Mm-hmm. Didn't think so.
No, instantly unacceptable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come on, please stop. Please stop with like the total generalization. You know what that felt like? That felt a little like those Republican ads that they run on black radio stations where they're like, "Oh, girlfriend, you know you're not supposed to vote Democrat." You know, like, oh, please spare me, right? And I find this thing unacceptable.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Right, and then the black hand had an afro, if you noticed. Okay, I mean, there's...
You know you make fun of my hand gestures all the time?
Yeah.
The black hand had an afro. Like, what is that? That was very Marcus Bachman of you.
Okay, all right. Let's go on to the other races.
Girl, it's time for us to do the walk.
That's from the Republican ad, trying to act black.
Oh, it's too funny.
Okay.
Second one, targeted toward Latinas.
Oh, boy.
Ay, another layover? After traveling all day, you expect me to feel good? Seriously? I mean, sure. I perform miracles, or like that whole giving birth thing. Yeah, that is all me, boo. But you know, even I need a little help from time to time. Like Summer's Eve cleansing cloths. They're individually wrapped, so you can just stash them in your purse, and we are good to go.
But I think that one's worse than the black one. You know why? Because it sounds like a white girl trying to do a Latina accent.
Ay. So, I'm so pissed from all the traveling.
No, his accent wasn't any better than the accent in that video, okay?
Let's go to the expert here. Jesus Godoy from East LA. Who had a better accent, the ay girl or me?
I think you both could fill in for each other, so you guys could be fine.
See?
I take great offense at that. I happen to think that my East LA accent's very good.
No, you need more work on it.
And more work, no?
Yeah.
I'm so pissed you said that. No, that's terrible. Anyway, I'm surprised that they're doing this, you know? I mean, it's kind of a ballsy thing.
It is. And you know why they're doing it. They're doing it because they know it's controversial. We're going to talk about it. And, you know, it's definitely drawing attention to Summer's Eve, a feminine hygiene product that we otherwise would not be discussing on a news show.
No, I hear you on that. But it's bold, right? Because corporations don't love to take risks. Like, you know, like, oh, you know, what about going on this program or that program? But then they come in with, ay, you know? And so that's an interesting route.
And the reference to having kids, I thought was interesting. That was interesting placement in the Latino ad.
Oh, good point. I didn't catch that.
You know I perform miracles like having kids.
That's funny. That's a good catch. And I vote Anna's best accent so far. Please don't tell me they had an Asian one.
They didn't have an Asian one.
And it starts, oh, ching chong ling long.
They did have a white one, though. They did have a white ad.
Oh, they did?
They did.
Okay.
So let's watch the white one.
Hello from Vagina Land. Population 3.5 billion and growing, thanks to us. Listen, we need to talk. I've tried giving you subtle hints, but no, you keep ignoring me. Not cool, sister. You and me should be BFFs. You take care of me, I take care of you. You know, like sidekicks. I'm not asking for much. Just a little attention in the shower with some pH-balanced Summer's Eve cleansing wash.
So she went with the peace sign, or the Zen thing, I should say, and they decided white people do the BFF.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Right, like, oh, best friends forever, we're so Biffy and Buffy. Okay, but she didn't have like she didn't have a fun...
horrible stereotype.
Yeah, she didn't have a fun accent. I thought maybe with white people they were going to be like, I do declare, I do need some attention down here. Please, after tea and crumpets, give your vagine a little bit of thing. But you know, they had the white hand saying the most risque thing, Vagina Land.
Right.
So, yeah, they're spreading around the love in some ways.
Some ways.
Yeah.
But the first two, in my opinion, were definitely like offensive.
Offensive. Okay, let's quick vote. Is it A, offensive? Okay, go. TYT Supreme Court.
I'd go more ignorant than offensive because they're trying something different, but they'd missed.
All right, Jesus.
All right, these can't be network TV ads, can they? They must be.
They're online.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
But I'm with JR. It sounds a little ignorant.
Right. Racialist? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think that's what they wanted, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So apparently we were agreed. They were going for racialist. Mission accomplished. Which is a little different than racist. Okay. And they were going. I feel bad calling it offensive. You know, I don't know why I feel bad calling it offensive, but I'm with them. At least a little ignorant. Okay? If they had done the Ching Chong Ling Long one, it would have taken us over the top. Okay?
I think the Latino one was definitely offensive. That's my take on it.
Yeah, my take on it is,
The white-
ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, come on.
Okay.
Fran Drescher, did I say your name right? Drescher?
Drescher.
Fran Drescher is
think.
going to be in a new series for TV Land. It's called Happily Divorced, and it's actually based on her own life story. Her husband of 18 years ended up being gay. And she talks about it in an interview. She basically says that she had divorced her husband during a midlife crisis. Okay, she needed a change. She wasn't happy in the marriage anymore. She said he was too controlling, which is interesting. They divorced, and he was very upset about the divorce. He wanted to remain in the relationship. He was crying, begging, let's not break up, but they did. And then several years later, he came out as gay. And she said that it was a huge relief for her, because she felt a tremendous amount of guilt after divorcing, and then now she's like, oh, okay, now he's in a gay relationship, and I don't have to feel bad anymore.
First of all, she's definitely right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're free to go. Okay. It turns out you did him a favor in some ways.
They also had hot sex.
Yeah, so I'm fascinated by this in a couple of ways, right? So she never knew at all. And then in the middle of the interview, there was this really funny part where she's like, no, I didn't know he was gay, but he was kind of controlling and catty, right? And the interviewer's like, you mean, so you broke up with him not because he's gay? Right, because I didn't know he was gay and I broke up with him because he was controlling and catty, not that being controlling and catty are gay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she didn't spell it out like that, but that's the sense I got. But immediately I thought of Marcus Bachman, right? Because it goes to show you could be married 18 years and apparently you're having decent sex, etc., and come to find out you're into dudes. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying.
So, I don't know. Maybe this story's really simple. Maybe it's, as we've talked about all along, there's a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband was, somewhere that's a little bit more in the middle of the spectrum, so you could have hot sex with her and then apparently with dudes.
That's what I'm more fascinated by. I definitely feel like their marriage was a good one. I mean, based on what she described and, based on the fact that they were together for so long, right? They
were together for long, and they said they were really good friends. So at the very end, now they're doing the show together, they asked her, so would you say he's like your best friend? She's like, well, I put him like fourth or fifth. And I was like, oh, cool. She's like, I really like my parents, and then there's this guy I'm seeing, then I got a couple of girlfriends, and then him. And I was like, okay, then not so good.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, sorry.
I got the sense that they are good friends.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what does best friend mean, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
they,
put...
they're BFFs.
Okay. I still don't know what that means. But I get the sense that, she has a good relationship with him.
That's true.
They still communicate or whatever. So, going back to the whole spectrum thing, it seems like he's more bisexual than gay. I don't know, but I could be wrong. Maybe.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? The spectrum is not, gay, bisexual,
right,
straight. He could be 60% gay.
He could be somewhere between bisexual and gay.
Right, and so what is the mostly straight, mostly gay? There's those categories now?
I'd say mostly gay.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. I'm putting him at 60%. I don't know the guy at all, but I'm putting him at 60% gay. If he had his druthers, he'd go with dudes. But if he had to, sleep with Fran Drescher, who's actually pretty cute, but has a terrible voice, he could put up with that for 18 years.
Well, see, that's the thing. If it's the other way around, we have this weird thought process that if a woman has good sex with a guy, then it's impossible that he's gay. I mean, maybe lots of guys have had sex with lesbians, and then they later end up in a lesbian relationship. The woman does. You don't go, oh my God, she was actually good in bed, and she's into women. Why isn't it the other way around too?
Yeah. Well, because we totally accept that because we're like, oh, cool, she's a lesbian. Keeping it real. Okay. Except for the guys who I know who are all broken up about the fact that their wives turned lesbian.
Really?
Oh, of course. Then they leave them and they, and for their lesbian lovers. And the guy's like, no, wait up, hold up, dog. I thought we were having fun.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
I see. Mm-hmm.
And then there are the dudes who are really mad about it, whether they leave or not. There's a famous story of Stallone was married to Brigitte Nielsen, right? And she's super hot and stuff. He walked in on her with his secretary, in the midst of some serious lesbian love. I would have thought that's the greatest day of your life. Like that's the phrase FTW was made for that situation where your secretary has seduced your hot wife. Like, has anything greater ever happened in the history of man? And he got really pissed and divorced her. He's like, how dare you cheat on me with my hot secretary?
Not every guy thinks that lesbian sex is the greatest thing ever. They consider it cheating. There are a lot of guys out there that think that way.
Yeah, those are ones that are 60% gay. Anyway, ironic. Okay, here's, yeah, but we know how he rolls. We heard it on yesterday's show. I have a penis, but it's not that hard. Okay, anyway, if I see my lesbian secretary with my lesbian wife and they have seduced one another,
I jump in it.
I'd be like, here I come. Assuming they're into it. Okay, we're out of time. It sucks, but we are.
No, Betty White needs to make an appearance on the show.
Really?
We're doing one
Wow.
more story. Real
Okay.
quick.
Oh, God bless.
Betty White was asked to the Marine Corps ball. There's been this new trend where people in the military are asking celebrities out for the Marine Corps ball as dates. And Betty White was actually asked to go to the event, and she turned the sergeant down.
That's awesome. Now, it started with Mila Kunis. You know, this guy records a little YouTube video. It's about 20 seconds. And then they played for Kunis in one of the interviews for her new movie. And Justin Timberlake jumps in. He's like, oh, you got to do it. She's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then she's like, oh, so are you going to come with me? Timberlake's like, no. She asked you to go to the ball with him. She's like, really? And there's a look of panic in her eye a little bit, like, right? And then she's like, oh, it's okay, I'll do it, I think, right? So then it became like a thing, oh my God. And so they asked for Betty White, come on, it's funny, it's good. She's gonna say yes. She's like, elbow from the sky, no.
That's exactly what happened. She said, I'm deeply flattered and truly appreciate the invitation. As everyone knows, I love a man in uniform, but unfortunately I cannot accept as I will be taping an episode of Hot in Cleveland. Love, Betty White.
Not buying it. She's like, no interest. Oh, is that the guy who asked her? Oh, come on, who doesn't love that guy? He looks like he's from like a 1980s sitcom, doesn't he? Like he should have like a saying, a catchphrase. Yeah, like like Steve said, dynamite. Something like that. Not that, but something like that. Like, what's happening? Betty White? Which would be perfect, because then they'd both be from 80s sitcoms. Okay.
I love Betty White.
Okay. All right, I'm going to end the show. Listen, we do have one other thing to tell you, though. Android app.
Go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. You already know about the official Young Turks iPhone app, but now we have a... No, iPhone app, people. But now we have a brand new TYT Android app. The app is called The Young Turks for Android. You can find it here. Can you guys see this?
What is that? Why are you doing that?
That's the Bajit.
Oh. Best TYT promo ever.
Okay. You know that when we do the ads for other companies, we actually do this, but then we don't show it to you because we can't do the Vagine ads. But we should do outtakes one day. Anyway, oh, come on, really? I'm supposed to say this? bit.ly/TYT Android? Oh, okay, you're going to put it up. What is that? Okay, all right, that's the Android dude. Okay, special thanks to TYT fan Joe Kozlarich, who created the app for us. Now, I do know about Joe. Joe's a really great guy. And apparently, this, all kidding aside, this app apparently totally kicks ass. And the guy who did our iPhone app, who's awesome.
John Graziano.
Yeah, Turk of the Year, not a big deal. Was like, damn, Joe knocked it out of the park. He's like, I got to step up my game.
Oh.
Damn, okay.
Little competition.
So, Joe, great job. And I'm telling you, Steve, the audio guys, won't stop talking about it, okay? He's like, oh, you got to see the Android app. You got to see the Android app. It's unbelievable, right? Okay, so God bless. Go forward. Okay, that's it, man. Oh, members only, of course. We come up with something great. Come on, just calm down. We'll see you there.